aita for refusing to give my sister-in-law our wedding photos after she fired me as her photographer. Throwaway account because this is getting messy and people involved know my name. I 28F am a professional photographer who specializes in weddings and events. I've been doing this for about 6 years and have built up a decent reputation in our city. My husband Jake 30M and I got married 2 years ago. And obviously I handled all our wedding photography myself with the help of a second shooter friend. Here's where it gets complicated. Jake's sister Emma 26F got engaged last year to her boyfriend of 4 years, David 28M. When they started planning their wedding, Emma asked if I would be their photographer. I was honestly a bit hesitant because mixing family and business can get messy, but Jake encouraged me to do it, saying it would mean a lot to Emma and would save them money since I'd give them the family discount. I quoted them $2,800 for the full package, normally $3,500, which includes engagement photos, 8 hours of wedding day coverage, all edited high-resolution images, and a custom photo album. They were thrilled, and we signed a contract in March for their October wedding. Everything seemed fine until about 2 months ago. Emma started getting really involved in the planning process, and I mean really involved. She would text me multiple times a day with ideas for shots, send me Pinterest boards constantly, and even started questioning my equipment choices. I tried to be patient because I know wedding planning is stressful, but it was getting overwhelming. The real problem started when Emma began demanding that I change my shooting style. I have a more natural, candid approach that focuses on genuine moments and emotions. Emma wanted heavily posed, Instagram-worthy shots for everything. She literally sent me a list of 47 specific poses she wanted me to recreate from various wedding blogs. When I explained that forced poses often look unnatural and that candid shots tend to be more meaningful in the long run, she accused me of being unprofessional and not listening to the client. Then Emma started inviting herself to other weddings I was shooting to observe my technique. This was absolutely not okay. I had to explain that other couples had not consented to having additional people at their weddings, and it was a huge liability and privacy issue. She got upset and said I was being secretive about my methods. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago. Emma called me demanding that I meet with her and David to discuss the vision again. During this meeting, she presented me with a minute-by-minute timeline of the entire wedding day, dictating exactly where I should be standing, what lens I should use, and even specifying the exact angles for each shot. She had somehow gotten hold of one of my other clients' wedding galleries. I still don't know how, and was pointing to specific photos saying, I want exactly this, but with my dress. I tried to calmly explain that photography is an art, not a paint-by-numbers activity, and that every wedding is unique. I told her that her micromanaging was making it impossible for me to do my job effectively. David was sitting there looking uncomfortable the whole time, occasionally trying to tell Emma to let Op do her thing, but she shut him down every time. Emma then dropped a bomb. She had been researching photography techniques online and decided that I needed to use a different camera system entirely. She wanted me to switch from my Canon setup, which I've used professionally for years, to Sony, because she read that Sony has better image quality. When I explained that I wasn't going to overhaul my entire equipment setup 3 weeks before her wedding, and that the difference in image quality between professional camera systems is negligible, she lost it. She started screaming that I was being stubborn and unprofessional, that I was trying to sabotage her wedding, and that she should have hired a real photographer instead of settling for family. David looked mortified and kept trying to calm her down, but she was on a roll. The final straw was when Emma demanded that I sign a new contract with additional clauses, including a guarantee that I would reshoot any photos she wasn't satisfied with. Impossible for a wedding, a clause requiring me to provide raw unedited files, which I never do, a requirement that I get her approval before taking any candid shots, a stipulation that I would provide her with detailed explanations for every creative decision I made. I told her that these demands were unreasonable, and that if she was unhappy with my services, maybe she should find another photographer. I expected her to back down, but instead she said, fine, you're fired. But I still want our engagement photos. And I'm not paying you the $500 deposit because you're being unprofessional. Here's the thing. I had already done their engagement session a month earlier. It was actually a really beautiful session, and I spent hours editing the photos to perfection. The images turned out amazing, some of my best work, honestly. I was planning to give them the full gallery as a peace offering after our fight. But then Emma made her demands about not paying and still wanting the photos. I told her that since she fired me and was refusing to pay for services already rendered, I wouldn't be delivering the engagement photos. She could either pay the $500 for the engagement session or forfeit the photos. She absolutely exploded, saying I was holding her photos hostage and that it was cruel and manipulative. Now here's where I might be the asshole. Emma and David have been together for years, and they're both pretty shy, introverted people. This engagement session was literally the first time they'd ever had professional photos taken together. I know these photos mean a lot to them, and Emma has been looking forward to seeing them for weeks, but I also feel like I can't just let her walk all over me. I'm a professional, and I provided a service. The contract clearly states that payment is due upon delivery of services, and she's refusing to pay while still demanding the product. The situation has gotten worse over the past few weeks. Emma has been telling everyone in Jake's family that I am being vindictive and cruel, holding her precious memories hostage over money. She's painted me as the villain who is trying to ruin her wedding over a petty disagreement. Jake's MOM called me crying, begging me to just give Emma the photos, because family is more important than money. Meanwhile, Emma found a new photographer at twice the price, which she keeps complaining about. But she's still going around telling people that I ruined her wedding planning experience and that she's traumatized by how I treated her. Jake is caught in the middle and feels terrible. He supports me, but is getting pressure from his family to just keep the peace. He suggested that we just eat the $500 and give her the photos to make this all go away, but I feel like that sets a terrible precedent. What if other clients think they can just fire me without paying? David reached out to me privately last week, apologizing for Emma's behavior and offering to pay the $500 himself just to get the photos. He seemed genuinely embarrassed by the whole situation and admitted that Emma has been difficult throughout the entire wedding planning process. Not just with me. He said that she's been fighting with the florist, the venue coordinator, and even her own bridesmaids about various aspects of the wedding. I felt bad for David, but I told him that the issue isn't really about the money anymore, it's about professional respect and boundaries. If I cave now, Emma will think she can treat other vendors the same way, and I'll look like a pushover to future clients. But honestly, I'm starting to wonder if I'm being too stubborn. The photos are just sitting on my computer, and it would cost me nothing to send them over. Emma is clearly stressed about the wedding, and maybe I should just be the bigger person here. At the same time, I worked hard on those photos, and professional photography isn't charity work. The wedding is into weeks, and the family tension is getting really bad. Jake's parents are barely speaking to us, and I overheard Emma telling someone that she's considering not inviting us to the wedding at all because of this betrayal. I keep going back and forth on this. Part of me wants to just send the damn photos and be done with it, but another part of me feels like I'm being manipulated, and that giving in would be wrong both personally and professionally. So Reddit, aita. For refusing to give my sister-in-law her engagement photos after she fired me without paying. aita. For refusing to share my inheritance with my stepbrother who helped raise me. Using a throwaway because this is tearing my family apart, and I need unbiased opinions. I 20 for F lost my dad when I was 15, and my MOM remarried when I was 17 too. My stepdad Rick 50 to M. Rick has a son, Marcus 29M, from his previous marriage. This whole situation involves my late grandmother's inheritance, and honestly, I don't know if I'm being selfish or standing up for what's right. Some background. My dad's MOM, Grandma Ruth, was an absolute saint. She was a retired teacher who lived modestly, but had been incredibly smart with her investments over the decades. She never remarried after my grandfather died, and she poured all her love into me after my dad passed. I spent every weekend with her from age 15 until I went to college, and even then, I visited her every few weeks. Grandma Ruth was very clear about her feelings regarding my mom's remarriage. She wasn't hostile, but she made it known that she considered Rick and Marcus nice people, but not family. She was polite when they came to family gatherings, but she never developed a close relationship with either of them. She always said that her loyalty was to my dad's memory and to me as his daughter when I was 19. Grandma Ruth was diagnosed with early-stage dementia. The progression was slow, thank God, and she remained mostly herself until she passed last year at 78. During her illness, I took on more responsibility for her care. I would drive the 3 hours from my college to her town every other weekend to help with grocery shopping, doctor's appointments, and just to spend time with her. Marcus, to his credit, did offer to help a few times. He lives about an hour away from Grandma Ruth and said he could check on her occasionally. Grandma Ruth was always polite when he visited, but she confided in me later that his visits made her uncomfortable because she felt like he was cataloging her belongings. I thought she was just being paranoid due to the dementia, but looking back, maybe she picked up on something I didn't. Here's where Marcus's version of events differs from mine. He claims that he helped raise me during my last 2 years of high school. This is technically true in that he lived in the same house as me, but the reality is more complicated. Marcus was 22 when our parents got married, and he was already working full-time and had his own life. He lived at home to save money, but he wasn't really involved in my day-to-day life. Marcus did drive me to school a few times when my mom's car was in the shop, and he helped me with my calculus homework on several occasions. He's an engineer. He also took me to get my driver's license when my MOM had to work. But calling this raising me feels like a huge stretch. He was more like a helpful older roommate than a parental figure. The inheritance situation. Grandma Ruth left me everything. Her house worth about 40k, her investment portfolio worth roughly 35k, her car, and all her personal belongings. The will was very straightforward and had been updated just 2 years before her death, well after her dementia diagnosis, but while she was still legally competent according to multiple medical evaluations. When the will was read, Marcus was visibly shocked. He later told me that he had assumed Grandma Ruth would leave me the majority of her estate, that there would be something for him since he had been part of the family and had helped take care of me. Initially, I felt bad about the situation. Marcus had been kind to me during high school, and I knew he was struggling financially. He's been trying to save for a down payment on a house for years, and his girlfriend Sarah is pregnant with their first child. Meanwhile, I am 24, single, and was already doing fine financially thanks to scholarships and a good job after college. I decided to offer Marcus $50,000 from the inheritance as a gesture of goodwill. I thought this was generous. It would be enough for a solid down payment and would help them get started as a family. Marcus seemed grateful at first, but then things got complicated. A week later, Marcus came back with a proposal. He had apparently consulted with a lawyer, which honestly rubbed me the wrong way, and learned about something called moral claims on inheritances. He argued that since he had contributed to my upbringing and had been there for Grandma Ruth during her illness, he deserved a more substantial portion of the inheritance. Marcus's proposal was that we split everything 70-30, with me getting the majority since I was the biological grandchild. This would give him about $225,000. His reasoning was that without his help during my high school years, I might not have been as successful academically, and therefore Grandma Ruth might not have been as proud of me or as inclined to leave me everything. I was honestly floored by this logic. First of all, the idea that his occasional homework help somehow entitled him to nearly $250,000 seemed insane. Second, the implication that my grandmother's love for me was conditional on my academic success felt insulting to both of us. When I declined his proposal, Marcus got upset and said I was being selfish and ungrateful. He pointed out that he could have easily taken advantage of an elderly woman with dementia, but instead he had been respectful and helpful. He said that my refusal to share showed that I didn't value family relationships and that I was dishonoring both my father's memory and Grandma Ruth's values of generosity. This is where things escalated. Marcus enlisted the help of our parents to pressure me into reconsidering. My MOM sat me down for a family meeting where she explained that Marcus was really struggling financially and that sharing the inheritance would be the right thing to do. She said that Grandma Ruth probably would have wanted to help Marcus if she had known about his situation. Rick was more direct. He told me that Marcus had made real sacrifices to help with my upbringing and that family should take care of family. He pointed out that I was already financially stable and didn't need all the money, while Marcus was about to become a father and could really use the help. The pressure campaign has been relentless. Sarah, Marcus's girlfriend, even reached out to me directly, crying about how they can't afford to buy a house before the baby comes and how stressed Marcus is about providing for his family. She said that surely I wouldn't want to see my future niece or nephew grow up in a cramped apartment when I have the power to help them. But here's what really bothers me. Marcus has started telling people that Grandma Ruth basically promised him that he would be included in her will. He's claiming that she told him he was like a grandson to her and that she was grateful for his help with me. I know this isn't true because Grandma Ruth was very honest with me about her feelings, and she never said anything like that. I decided to increase my offer to $75,000, thinking this would be a reasonable compromise. This is still a life-changing amount of money and would definitely cover a house down payment. But Marcus rejected this immediately, saying it was insulting and showed that I didn't understand the value of what he had contributed to our family. The situation has gotten so bad that Marcus has started involving extended family members. Rick's sister called me last week to tell me that I was being heartless and that Marcus deserved better treatment from someone he had helped raise. Some of my dad's relatives have also weighed in, with mixed opinions, some saying I should honor Grandma Ruth's wishes exactly as written. Others saying that sharing would show good character. Marcus has also been posting vaguely on social media about family loyalty and people who forget where they came from. He's never mentioned me directly, but it's clear what he's referring to. And I'm getting messages from mutual friends asking about the situation. The worst part is that this is affecting my relationship with my MOM and Rick. They're not outright taking sides, but there's definitely tension. My MOM keeps making comments about how money changes people and how she hopes I'll do the right thing. Rick has become cold and distant, and I can tell he thinks I'm being selfish. I have been losing sleep over this for months. Part of me wonders if I should just give Marcus what he wants to preserve family harmony. The money would be nice to have, but it's not like I desperately need it. I have a good job, no debt, and I'm already planning to use some of the inheritance to buy a house anyway. But another part of me feels like giving in would be betraying Grandma Ruth's clear wishes. She specifically chose to leave everything to me, and she had years to change her mind if she wanted to include Marcus. She was also very clear about her feelings regarding Rick and Marcus throughout her life. They were fine people, but they weren't her family in the way that mattered to her. I'm also concerned about the precedent this would set. If I give Marcus a huge portion of the inheritance based on his claims about helping raise me, what message does that send? That biological relationships don't matter? That anyone who provides occasional help to a child deserves to be rewarded with inheritance? Money? There's also the practical matter that Marcus's claims about his contributions feel exaggerated. Yes, he was helpful during my high school years, but so were teachers, friends' parents, and other people in my life. The idea that driving me to school a few times and helping with homework somehow
But I also can't ignore the fact that Marcus is about to become a
father and could really use the financial help. I don't want to be the reason his child grows up with less opportunities, and I do appreciate that he was kind to me during a difficult time in my life, even if I don't think it rises to the level of raising me. The whole situation has made me question my own values and priorities. Am I being selfish? Am I prioritizing money over family relationships? Or am I standing up for what's right and honoring my grandmother's wishes? I've considered suggesting that Marcus contest the will in court if he truly believes he has a legal claim. But I know this would completely destroy our family relationships. I've also thought about consulting with a family therapist to help us work through this. But Marcus says he's not interested in more talking, he just wants what he thinks he deserves. So Reddit, aita for refusing to share my inheritance with my stepbrother who claims he helped raise me. TL, Dia, inherited $750,000 from grandma who explicitly left everything to me. Stepbrother wants $225,000 because he helped raise me in high school and helped with grandma's care. Family is pressuring me to share, but I feel like his claims are exaggerated and it would dishonor grandma's clear wishes. Aita for not inviting my best friend's autistic son to my daughter's birthday party. Throwaway account because this involves my real-life relationships and I am honestly devastated about the whole situation. I 34F have been best friends with Lisa 33F for over 12 years. We met in college and have been through everything together: breakups, career changes, marriages, and motherhood. Our kids are close in age, and we always joked that they'd grow up to be best friends just like us. Unfortunately, that's not how things have worked out, and now I'm facing the hardest decision I've ever had to make as a parent. Lisa's son Connor 8M is autistic. He was diagnosed when he was 4, and Lisa has been incredible about getting him all the support and therapy
he needs. I want to be clear up front that I have absolutely nothing against autistic children or people with disabilities.
This isn't about Connor's autism itself, it's about specific behavioral issues that have developed over the past 2 years. My daughter Mia 7F used to love playing with Connor when they were younger. They would have playdates all the time, and everything was generally fine. But as Connor has gotten older, he's developed some behaviors that make social situations really difficult and honestly, sometimes scary. The problem started about 2 years ago. Connor began having what Lisa calls meltdowns, but what I can only describe as violent episodes. During these incidents, he will scream, throw things, hit, and sometimes bite.
I understand that this is related to his autism and that he can't necessarily control it, but the reality is that other children, including my daughter, have been hurt.
The first major incident happened at a playdate at Lisa's house. Connor
became upset because Mia was playing with a toy he wanted, even though there were identical toys available.
He started screaming and then threw a wooden block that hit Mia in the face, giving her a black eye.
Lisa was mortified and kept apologizing, explaining that Connor doesn't understand his own strength and that they were working with his therapist
on better coping strategies. I was understanding at the time because accidents happen, and I know Connor didn't mean to hurt Mia.
But over the following months, similar incidents kept occurring.
Connor pushed another child off a playground slide, resulting in a broken arm. He bit a classmate hard enough to draw blood. He destroyed another child's art project during a group activity because he didn't like the colors being used.
Each time, Lisa would explain that Connor was having a bad day, or was overwhelmed by sensory input, or was struggling with transitions.
She's always been very apologetic and has tried different strategies to help him, including changing his medication, adjusting his therapy schedule, and working with behavioral specialists. I really admire her dedication as a mother, and I know
she's doing everything she can.
But here's the thing, other parents have started to notice.
At school events, I've overheard conversations about Connor's behavior. Some parents have quietly started excluding him from birthday parties and playdates.
It's heartbreaking to watch Lisa deal with this rejection, especially because she's such a good person and Connor is just a kid who can't help his condition. The situation came to a head 3 months ago during a group playdate at the local park. There were about 8 kids there, including Mia and Connor. Everything was going fine until Connor became fixated on the swings. When another child wouldn't get off his swing even though all the swings are identical, Connor completely lost it. He started by screaming and crying, which was manageable.
But then, he began throwing sand at the other children, including getting it in one little girl's eyes.
When Lisa tried to calm him down, he hit her in the face hard enough to make her nose bleed. But the worst part was when he grabbed a stick and started swinging it at the other kids. I had to physically intervene
to protect Mia and the other children. I grabbed the stick from Connor's hands, which made him even more upset, and he tried to bite me. Lisa was crying and trying to restrain him while apologizing to everyone.
The whole scene was traumatic for all the kids involved, and several parents left immediately with their children. After that incident, I had a long conversation with my husband, Mark 36M, about the situation. He pointed out that while we want to be supportive friends, our first responsibility is to protect our daughter.
He said he was uncomfortable with Mia being around Connor when these violent episodes were becoming more frequent and severe. I tried to maintain the friendship by suggesting that Lisa and I have adult-only hangouts while the kids were in school or at their other parents' houses. Lisa seemed to understand, but I could tell she was hurt that the kids couldn't play together anymore. Now here's the main issue. Mia's 8th birthday is coming up next month, and I'm planning a party at our house. It's going to be a fairly big celebration with about 15 kids from her class and neighborhood, plus their parents.
Under normal circumstances, Connor and Lisa would absolutely be invited. They've been to every one of Mia's previous birthday parties.
But I'm terrified about what might happen if Connor has an episode during the party.
There will be lots of kids, noise, excitement, and sensory stimulation, all triggers that Lisa has mentioned can set Connor off. If he becomes violent during the party, it could ruin the entire event and potentially hurt multiple children.
I've been agonizing over this decision for weeks. I considered having a separate, smaller celebration that Connor could attend, but Mia specifically asked if Connor was coming to her real party. And when I gave a non-committal answer, she said she hoped he wouldn't because she's scared of when he gets mad.
This broke my heart because Mia used to love Connor, and it's clear that his behavioral issues have affected her too. She's mentioned being nervous around him and has had nightmares after some of their interactions.
My 7-year-old daughter shouldn't have to feel afraid of her friend, but I also don't want to contribute to Connor's social isolation. I finally made the decision not to invite Connor to the party.
Instead, I called Lisa and tried to explain the situation as gently as possible.
I told her that I was worried about having such a large, stimulating event and that I thought it might be overwhelming for Connor. I suggested that maybe Connor and Mia could have a separate, quieter celebration another day.
Lisa immediately knew what I was really saying. She became very upset and accused me of discriminating against her son because
of his disability. She said that I was teaching Mia to be prejudiced against people who are different and that I was contributing to the stigma that autistic families face every day.
She pointed out that Connor has never seriously injured anyone and that his episodes usually only last a few minutes.
She said that with proper support and understanding, Connor can participate in social events just like any other child. She also mentioned that excluding him from birthday parties was damaging his self-esteem and making him feel like he doesn't have any friends.
I tried to explain that my decision wasn't based on prejudice but on legitimate safety concerns.
I
pointed out the specific incidents where children had been hurt and said that I couldn't risk having 15 kids in potential danger, even if the likelihood of an incident was small.
Lisa got angrier and said that if I was really her friend, I would find a way to make the party work for Connor.
She suggested that she could stay close to him the entire time, that we could have a calm-down room available, or that we could
modify the party activities to be more autism-friendly.
Honestly, some of her suggestions made sense, but I also felt like I shouldn't have to completely restructure my daughter's birthday party around one child's needs, especially when that
child has a history of violent behavior. I know that sounds harsh, but this is supposed to be Mia's special day.
The conversation ended with Lisa hanging up on me, and we haven't spoken since. I've heard through mutual friends that she's telling people I'm discriminating against Connor,
and that she's heartbroken by my betrayal of our friendship.
The worst part is that other parents have started reaching out to me about the situation. Some have been supportive, saying they understand my decision and have made similar choices about Connor.
But others have criticized me, saying that I'm being exclusionary and that Connor deserves the same social opportunities as other children.
One MOM even suggested that I should use this as a teaching moment for all the kids about accepting differences and that excluding Connor sends them wrong message.
She said that with proper planning and supervision, the party could be safe for everyone while still being inclusive.
I'm starting to second-guess myself. Maybe I am being discriminatory.
Maybe I should be doing more to accommodate Connor's needs and help him feel included.
Lisa is right that he's just a kid who can't help his condition, and social isolation is probably making his behavioral issues worse.
But I also keep thinking about my responsibility to protect my daughter and the other children who will be at
the party.
What if Connor does have an episode and someone gets seriously hurt?
What if the party is ruined for Mia and she remembers her 8th birthday as the day her friends scared everyone?
Mark is supportive of my decision, but some of my other friends think I'm being too cautious. My sister said that I'm overthinking the situation and that kids are resilient.
My MOM, on the other hand, said that I'm being a good parent by prioritizing safety, even if it's a difficult choice. The party is in 2 weeks, and I'm still not sure if I made the right call. I miss my friendship with Lisa, and I hate that this situation has put me in the position of potentially discriminating against a child with special needs.
But I also can't shake the feeling that I'm doing what's best for my daughter and the other kids who will be at the party. I've considered reaching out to Lisa again to see if we can find a compromise, but I'm not sure what that would look like.
Maybe Connor could come for just part of the party.
Or maybe we could have the separate celebration I suggested and make it really special. But I'm also worried that any compromise I offer will seem condescending or tokenistic. Lisa made it clear that she wants Connor to be fully included, not accommodated or managed. This whole situation has made me realize how complicated these issues are. I want to be a good friend, a supportive member of my community, and an advocate for inclusion. But I also want to be a protective parent who puts her child's safety and happiness first. I know that families with special needs children face discrimination and exclusion all the time, and I hate the idea that I might be contributing to that. But I also know that Connor's behavioral issues are real and have resulted in other children being hurt. So Reddit. aita for not inviting my best friend's autistic son to my daughter's birthday party because of his history of violent episodes. TL.
DR. Best friend's 8-year-old autistic son has had multiple violent episodes over the past 2 years, including hitting, biting, and throwing objects that have injured other children.
I decided not to invite him to my daughter's 8th birthday party, with 15 plus kids due to safety concerns.
Best friend says I'm discriminating against her son's disability and ruining our 12-year friendship. Aita for telling my roommate's boyfriend he can't stay over anymore after he helped me through a panic attack.
Using a throwaway because people involved follow my main account and this is messy. I 23F live with my roommate Jess 24F in a 2-bedroom apartment near our university. We've been roommates for almost 2 years and generally get along well, though we have different lifestyles.
Jess is very social and outgoing, while I'm more introverted and prefer quiet evenings at home. About 8 months ago, Jess started dating
Tyler 25M, and honestly, he seemed like a great guy at first.
He's charming, funny, and treats Jess really well. The problem is that over the past few months, Tyler has basically moved into our apartment without officially moving in or contributing to rent and utilities. Tyler stays over at least 5-6 nights a week, sometimes more.
He leaves his clothes in
Jess's room, keeps food in our fridge, uses our Wi-Fi constantly, takes long showers, and generally acts like he lives here.
When I've brought this up with Jess, she always says he's just visiting and that it's temporary, but it's been going on for months. I've tried to be understanding because I know how new relationships can be, and I didn't want to be the uptight roommate who complains about everything.
But the situation has been wearing on me, especially because Tyler is a very loud, energetic person who doesn't seem to understand that some people need quiet time to decompress. He'll come home from work, yes. He comes home to our apartment and immediately turn on the TV loudly, start cooking elaborate meals that leave the kitchen a mess, or call his friends and have loud conversations in the living room. When I've asked him to keep it down, he's always apologetic, but then does the same thing the next day. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago.
I've been dealing with severe anxiety and panic attacks lately due to stress from grad school applications, family issues, and some health problems. I've been seeing a therapist and taking medication, but I still have episodes sometimes. One evening, I was having a particularly bad panic attack in my room.
I was hyperventilating, crying, and felt like I was going to pass out. Jess wasn't home, and I couldn't reach her on the phone. I was scared and didn't know what to do. Tyler heard me from the living room and knocked on my door to check if I was okay.
When I didn't respond coherently, he came in and found me in the middle of the panic attack.
Instead of freaking out or calling 911, which probably would have made things worse, he stayed calm and helped me through it. Tyler sat with me and used grounding techniques that he apparently learned when his sister went through similar issues. He helped me focus on my breathing, talked me through it, and stayed with me until I felt stable again. He even made me some tea and didn't make a big deal about it afterward. I was genuinely grateful because I've never had someone handle my panic attacks so well. Here's where it gets complicated. During the panic attack, in my vulnerable state, I ended up telling Tyler some very personal things about my anxiety, my family situation, and my fears about the future. We had what felt like a really deep, meaningful conversation about mental health and life in general. For the first time, I felt like Tyler actually understood me as a person, rather than just seeing me as his girlfriend's uptight roommate. Over the next few days, Tyler started checking in on me more often.
He'd ask how I was doing, offer to help
with things around the apartment, and generally seemed more considerate of my need for quiet time.
He even started cleaning up after himself more and keeping the TV volume down. I appreciated the gesture, but I also started feeling uncomfortable about the whole situation.
The conversation we had during my panic attack was very intimate and personal, and now Tyler knew things about me that I hadn't even told some of my close friends.
I felt exposed and vulnerable, and having him around the apartment constantly
started feeling intrusive in a new way. The real problem started when Tyler began trying to have more personal conversations with me.
He'd ask about my therapy, my family drama, and my plans for the future.
While I think he meant well, it felt like he was crossing boundaries. I didn't want to discuss my mental health with my roommate's boyfriend, especially not someone who
was essentially living in my space without permission. Things got even weirder when Tyler started making subtle comments about how Jess doesn't really understand certain things about life and stress, implying that he and I had some kind of special
understanding because of our conversation during the panic attack.
He never said anything inappropriate, but there was definitely an undertone that made me uncomfortable. The final straw came last week.
Tyler was in the kitchen making dinner when I came home from a particularly stressful day.
He immediately noticed
That I looked upset and started asking questions about what was wrong. When I said I just wanted to be alone, he said something like, "Come on, you know you can talk to me about anything."
"We have a connection now." The way he said connection made my skin crawl. It felt like he was using my moment of vulnerability to create some kind of inappropriate intimacy between us. I realized that by helping me through the panic attack, Tyler now felt entitled to a level of closeness that I wasn't comfortable with. I decided I needed to set firm boundaries. I told Jess that Tyler could no longer stay over as frequently as
he had been, and that when he was there, I needed him to respect my privacy and not try to engage me in personal conversations.
I explained that while I appreciated his help during my panic attack, it had created an uncomfortable dynamic that I needed to address. Jess was not happy about this. She accused me of being ungrateful and said that Tyler had been nothing but
kind to me. She pointed out that he had helped me during a crisis when she wasn't available, and that he'd been making an effort to be more considerate around the apartment. When I tried to explain that Tyler's behavior was making me uncomfortable, Jess said I was being paranoid and reading too much into innocent gestures.
She said that Tyler was just trying to be a good friend and that I was punishing him for caring about my well-being. Tyler was also upset when Jess told him about my request.
He came to me directly and said he was hurt that I was pushing him away.
After he'd tried so hard to be supportive, he said he thought we had developed a real friendship and that he was just trying to look out for me because he cared. I tried to explain that I appreciated his help, but that I needed boundaries, especially regarding my personal life and mental health.
Tyler said he understood but seemed hurt and confused. He asked if there was something specific he had done wrong, and honestly, I couldn't point to any single incident that was clearly inappropriate. The situation has created a lot of tension in the apartment. Jess is angry with me and has started
making passive-aggressive comments about how I am being weird and ungrateful. She's also started deliberately having Tyler over more often, almost like she's trying to prove a point. Tyler, for his part, has become cold and distant.
He barely acknowledges me when he's in the apartment, and the helpful, considerate behavior
has stopped completely.
He's back to being loud and messy, and now it feels almost spiteful. I'm starting to wonder if I overreacted.
Tyler really did help me during a crisis, and maybe I am being ungrateful. It's possible that I misinterpreted his attempts at friendship as something inappropriate when he was just trying to be supportive, but I also can't shake the feeling that something about the dynamic was off.
The way Tyler talked about our connection, and his comments about Jess not understanding certain things felt like boundary crossing to me. And the fact that he's now being cold and spiteful makes me think that maybe my instincts were right. My therapist says that people in vulnerable states can sometimes feel uncomfortable with the people who witness their vulnerability, even when those people were helpful. She said it's normal to want to re-establish boundaries after sharing something very personal. But she also cautioned me against letting anxiety make me push away people who genuinely care. Some of my friends think I'm
being too harsh and that Tyler was just trying to be a good friend.
They point out that he could have ignored my panic attack or handled it badly, but instead he stepped up and helped me.
They say that penalizing him for being supportive sends the wrong message. Other friends think my instincts are right and that
Tyler was being inappropriate by trying to use my vulnerable moment to create intimacy.
They say that helping someone through a crisis doesn't give you the right to unlimited access to their personal life afterward. The whole situation has made living in the apartment really uncomfortable.
Jess and I barely talk anymore, and when Tyler is over, the tension is palpable.
I'm considering looking for a new place to live, but I can't afford to break my lease, and I genuinely liked living with Jess before all this happened. I've thought about apologizing and trying to reset the boundaries in a gentler way, but I'm worried that would just invite more of the behavior that made me uncomfortable in the first place. I've also considered having a conversation with both Jess and Tyler together to try to clear the air, but I'm not sure what I would even say. The worst part is that I genuinely am grateful for Tyler's help during my panic attack.
It meant a lot
to have someone stay calm and supportive during such a scary moment.
But that gratitude is now complicated by all the weirdness that followed. I keep going back and forth on whether I handled this correctly. Maybe I should have just been clearer about boundaries from the beginning instead of letting the situation build up.
Maybe I should have talked to Tyler directly about the comments.
That made me uncomfortable instead of going through Jess, but I also feel like I have the right to set boundaries in my own home, even if those boundaries seem ungrateful or harsh to other people.
The fact that Tyler helped me during a crisis doesn't mean he gets unlimited access to my personal life, or that I have to accept behavior that makes me uncomfortable. So Reddit. Aita for telling my roommate's boyfriend he can't stay over as much
Anymore, even though he helped me through a panic attack and was trying to be supportive. Roommate's boyfriend helped me through a panic attack, but afterwards started trying to have personal conversations and made comments about our connection that made me uncomfortable.
I set boundaries about him staying over, and now both he and my roommate think I'm being ungrateful for his help during my crisis.
Aita for getting promoted over my coworker who has been supporting her disabled husband. Throw away because people at work use Reddit and this situation is already causing enough drama. I 29F work as a marketing manager at a mid-sized tech company.
I've been there for years and have always been ambitious about advancing my career. Recently, a senior marketing director position opened up, basically my dream job, with a $30,000 salary increase and the chance to lead my own team. My main competition for this role was my coworker Sarah 31F, who has been with the company for 6 years. Sarah and I have always had a friendly but competitive relationship.
We're both good at our jobs, but we have very different work styles and approaches to our careers. Here's where the situation gets complicated. About 18 months ago, Sarah's husband,
Mike, was in a severe car accident that left him partially paralyzed and requiring extensive care.
Sarah had to take several weeks off initially, and since then, she's been dealing with ongoing medical appointments, physical therapy sessions, insurance battles, and all the challenges that come with caring for a disabled spouse. To Sarah's credit,
she's tried really hard to maintain her work performance despite everything going on at home.
However, the reality is that her availability and focus have been affected.
She's had to leave early for medical appointments, take calls from doctors during work hours, work from home more frequently, and occasionally call in sick when Mike has bad days. I want to be clear that I have nothing but sympathy for Sarah's situation. What happened to Mike was tragic, and I can't imagine how difficult it must be for both of them. I've tried to be supportive by covering for her when she needs to leave early, helping with her projects when she's overwhelmed, and just being a good colleague and friend. But here's the thing. While Sarah has been dealing with her personal crisis, I've been working my ass off to position myself for this promotion.
I've been staying late, taking on extra projects, volunteering for high visibility assignments, and consistently exceeding my targets.
I've also been taking professional development courses on my own time and have earned 2 additional certifications
that are relevant to the director role. When the position was posted, both Sarah and I applied.
I felt confident about my chances based on my recent performance and the extra effort I'd been putting in. During my interview, I highlighted all my achievements, my vision for the department, and my commitment to the company's growth. Sarah also
interviewed for the position, and from what I heard through the office grapevine, she emphasized her experience and institutional knowledge. However, several people mentioned that she seemed tired during the interview and that some of her responses were less detailed than they could have been. Last week, I got the promotion. I was thrilled. This is exactly what I've been working toward for years.
My manager told me that the decision was based on my recent performance, my initiative in taking on additional responsibilities, and my clear vision for the role's future. But Sarah's reaction has made this victory feel really complicated.
When the announcement was made, she congratulated me publicly, but seemed obviously upset.
Later that day, she asked to speak with me privately. During our conversation, Sarah told me that she felt the promotion decision was unfair given her circumstances. She said that if it weren't for Mike's accident, she would have been the obvious
choice for the role given her seniority and experience.
She pointed out that she's had to miss some opportunities to shine because of her caregiving responsibilities, but that this doesn't reflect her actual capabilities or commitment to the
company. Sarah also said that she felt I had taken advantage of her difficult situation to make myself look better by comparison. She claimed that I had deliberately taken on projects and assignments that she couldn't handle due to her personal circumstances, essentially using her tragedy to advance my own career. This accusation really stuck because it implied that my promotion
was somehow unearned, or that I had been opportunistic about her misfortune. I tried to explain that I had been working hard long before Mike's accident, and that my increased efforts weren't specifically aimed at competing with her. They were just part of my natural career progression. Sarah became more emotional and said that the company was essentially punishing her for having a disabled spouse. She argued that a truly inclusive workplace would have taken her circumstances into account when making the promotion decision, or at least delayed the decision
until she was in a better position to compete fairly. I felt terrible seeing Sarah so upset, but I also felt defensive about my own achievements.
I told her that while I sympathized with her situation, I didn't think it was fair to expect the company to base promotion decisions on personal circumstances rather than work performance.
I said that I had earned this promotion through my efforts
and results, not because of anything that had happened to her. Sarah said that my response showed that I didn't understand the challenges faced by people with caregiving responsibilities, and that I was being insensitive to her situation. She said that in a few years, I might face my own personal crises and would understand how it feels to be judged solely on work output during the most difficult period of your life. The conversation ended awkwardly, and since then, the atmosphere
in our office has been really tense. Sarah has been cold and professional with me, and I can tell she's still very hurt and angry.
Some of our co-workers have started taking sides, with some saying that Sarah got a raw deal and others supporting
the merit-based decision. The worst part is that I've started hearing whispers that Sarah has been talking to HR about the promotion decision. According to office gossip, she's arguing that the company failed to provide reasonable accommodations for her situation and that the timing of the promotion was discriminatory. I've also heard that Sarah has been telling people that I deliberately
undermined her by taking on high-profile projects when I knew she couldn't compete for them due to her personal situation.
She's apparently framing this as a calculated career move on my part, rather than just me doing my job well. This has made me question whether I did anything wrong.
Looking back, I did take on several major projects during the period when Sarah was dealing with the worst of Mike's medical crisis.
At the time, I thought I was being helpful by stepping up when a colleague needed support. But now I am wondering if Sarah is right that I was being opportunistic. I've also been thinking about whether the company should have handled this differently.
Should they have waited to post the position until Sarah was in a better place to compete? Should they have taken her personal circumstances into account when evaluating candidates?
Or would that have been unfair to me and other applicants?
My friends and family are divided on this issue. Some say that I shouldn't feel guilty for working hard and earning a promotion based on merit.
They argue that while Sarah's situation is sad, it's not my responsibility to handicap my own career to level the playing field for her. Others think that I should have been more sensitive to Sarah's situation, and perhaps should have declined some of the opportunities that came my way.
During her crisis period, they say that while I didn't technically do anything wrong, I could have been more considerate of a colleague who was going through a difficult time. My boyfriend thinks Sarah is being unreasonable, and that she's trying to use her personal situation to claim a job she didn't earn based on current performance. He says that if companies started making decisions based on employees' personal circumstances rather than work output, it would set a dangerous precedent. But my sister, who works in HR, says that modern workplaces are supposed to be more understanding
of employees' life situations and that perhaps the company should have found a way to be more inclusive in their decision-making process. I've been losing sleep over this because I genuinely don't know if I'm in the wrong.
I worked hard for this promotion, and I believe I earned it fairly. But I also can't ignore the fact that Sarah's situation may have put her at a disadvantage that wasn't really her fault. The situation at work has become increasingly uncomfortable.
Sarah and I used to collaborate regularly, but now our interactions are stilted and awkward.
Other team members have noticed the tension, and it's starting to affect the overall department morale. I've considered reaching out to Sarah to try to have another conversation, but I'm not sure what I would say. I don't want to apologize for getting promoted, but I also don't want her to think I'm completely insensitive to her situation. I've also thought about talking to my manager about the situation, but I am worried that would make things worse or make me look like I can't handle interpersonal conflicts. The whole thing has somewhat tainted what should have been a career highlight for me. Instead of celebrating my promotion, I'm constantly second-guessing whether I deserve it and worrying about the fallout with Sarah.so Reddit. aita for getting promoted over my coworker who has been dealing with her disabled husband's care, even
though she claims I took advantage of her difficult situation to advance my own career. aita for refusing to cancel my dream vacation to attend my cousin's last-minute wedding,
using the throwaway because my family is all over social media and this drama is getting out of hand. I 27F have been planning and saving for a 3-week solo trip to Southeast Asia for over 2 years.
This isn't just any vacation, it's something I've dreamed about since college, and I've been putting aside money every month, researching destinations, learning basic phrases in local languages, and planning every detail meticulously. The trip is scheduled for next month, and I've already paid for flights too, for accommodations, tours, and various activities totaling about $8,000. Most of these bookings are non-refundable or have hefty cancellation fees.
More importantly, I've already used up my vacation time at work and gotten approval for the extended leave, which was difficult to arrange in my demanding job as a nurse in the ICU. This trip means everything to me. I've been working 12-hour shifts,
picking up extra hours, and living pretty frugally for 2 years to make this happen. I've turned down social events, skipped expensive dinners out, and basically put my life on hold to save for what I consider a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Here's where the problem starts. 3 weeks ago, my cousin Maya, 24F, called me crying
to announce that she's getting married in 6 weeks.
Yes, 6 weeks. The wedding date, exactly in the middle of my planned vacation. Maya and her boyfriend Trevor, 26M, have been together for about 1.5 years. Their relationship has been pretty rocky from what I've observed at family gatherings. Lots of drama, a few breakups and makeups, and generally the kind of intense, volatile dynamic that makes everyone around them uncomfortable. The reason for the rushed wedding is that Maya is pregnant.
She's about 12 weeks along, and she and Trevor decided they want to get married before she starts showing significantly. Maya says they want their baby to be born to married parents, and that they don't want to wait until after the birth because planning a wedding with a newborn would be too stressful. When Maya told me about the wedding date, I immediately explained
that I would be in Thailand during that time and had been planning this trip for 2 years. I congratulated her on her engagement and pregnancy, and suggested that maybe I could take them out for a nice dinner before I left to celebrate. Maya's response shocked me. She started crying harder and said that I was being selfish and that
family should come first. She said that this was the most important day of her life and that she needed all her family there to support her. She pointed out that I'm one of her only female cousins close to her age and that she had been counting
on me being there. I tried to explain the situation, the non-refundable bookings, the work arrangements, the 2 years of planning and saving. Maya said that if I really cared about her, I would find a way to make it work.
She suggested that I could reschedule the trip, or just take a shorter vacation another time, when I explained that rescheduling would cost thousands of dollars and
that I couldn't get the time of work again for at least another year. Maya accused me of caring more about a selfish vacation than her happiness.
She said that I was being unsupportive during one of the most important times of her life. The situation escalated when Maya started involving other family members.
She called my mom, my aunt, her mother, and several other relatives to complain about my selfishness. Soon, I was getting calls and texts from family members telling me that I needed to be there for Maya's wedding. My mom was particularly upset with me.
She said that family comes first and that I could travel anytime. But Maya would only get married once, which, given Maya's relationship history, I am not entirely sure about, but I didn't say that.
Mom said that missing the wedding would damage my relationship with Maya permanently and would make me look selfish to the entire family. My aunt, Maya's mother, was even more direct. She called me and said that I was being incredibly selfish and that Maya was heartbroken that I wouldn't be there.
She said that the wedding was more important than any vacation and that I needed to get my priorities straight. Other family members
have chimed in with various opinions. Some support Maya and think I should cancel or postpone my trip. Others understand my position but think I should try to find a compromise.
A few have privately told me that they think Maya is being unreasonable with the short notice, but they won't say that publicly because they don't want to deal with the drama. The pressure has been relentless.
Maya has been posting on social media
about how hurt she is that some family members won't be there for her special day. While she hasn't named me directly, it's pretty obvious who she's talking about. And I've been getting messages from mutual friends asking what's going on, The worst part is that Maya has started making this about more than just the wedding. She's been saying that my refusal to attend shows that I don't support her relationship, that I don't care about her happiness, and that I'm not a good cousin or family member.
She's even suggested that I disapprove of her pregnancy, and that's why I won't come to the wedding. None of this is true. While I do think Maya and Trevor's relationship is volatile, and that getting married so quickly might not be the best decision, I genuinely want Maya to be happy.
I just don't think I should have to sacrifice something I've worked toward for 2 years because of her last-minute planning. Trevor has stayed mostly out of the drama, but when I ran into him at a family barbecue last weekend, he made a comment about how some people only care about themselves and that he's learning who Maya's real family is.
It was pretty clear he was talking about me. I've tried to think of compromises, but nothing seems workable.
I looked into changing my flights, but the cost would be over $3,000 just for the flight changes, not including all the other non-refundable
bookings. I also can't get additional time of work. I'm already pushing it with the 3 weeks. And my supervisor made it clear that this was a one-time exception. I even considered flying back just for the wedding day, but the logistics are impossible. The wedding is on a Saturday, and with travel time and jet lag, I'd basically be flying 24 hours each way to attend a single event, which would cost me another $2,000 and would completely disrupt my vacation. My friends are mostly supportive of my decision.
They point out that 6 weeks' notice for a wedding is unreasonable, and that I shouldn't have to sacrifice something I've worked so hard for because of Maya's poor planning. They also note that Maya chose to have a rushed wedding, so she has to accept that some people won't be able to attend. But some of my friends think I should just suck it up and cancel the trip. They say that family relationships are more important than any vacation, and that I'll regret missing the wedding more than I'll regret postponing the trip. My boyfriend is firmly on my side. He's watched me plan and save for this trip and knows
how much it means to me. He thinks Maya is being manipulative by using emotional blackmail to try to get me to cancel.
He's also pointed out that Maya didn't even ask if the date worked for important family members before setting it. The situation came to a head this weekend at a family dinner. Maya brought up the wedding and made a pointed comment about how some
people won't be there because they're too selfish to change their plans.
When I tried to explain my situation again, Maya started crying and said that I was ruining her special day. My mom jumped in and said that I was being stubborn and inconsiderate. She said that Maya is going through a stressful time with the pregnancy
and wedding planning, and that I should be more understanding.
She also said that the family is going to remember my absence and that it will affect my relationships with everyone. I finally lost my temper and said that Maya's poor planning doesn't
constitute an emergency on my part.
I pointed out that 6 weeks' notice for a wedding is ridiculous and that she can't expect everyone to drop everything because she decided to rush into marriage.
I also said that if she really wanted family there, she should have considered other
people's schedules before setting the date. This caused a huge fight. Maya ran out crying. My aunt started yelling at me about being cruel to a pregnant woman, and my mom said she was ashamed of my behavior.
Several family members left early, and the whole evening was ruined. Since then, the family has basically split into camps. Some people think I'm being reasonable and that Maya is being manipulative. Others think I'm being selfish and should prioritize family over personal desires. The drama has been exhausting, and I'm starting to dread family gatherings. Maya has since blocked me on social media and is apparently telling people that I'm a terrible person who doesn't care about family. My aunt has made several passive-aggressive comments about people who abandon their family when they need them most. I'm starting to wonder if I should just cancel the trip to keep the peace. The family drama is wearing me down, and I hate that Mada is so upset.
But I also feel like cancelling would be giving into emotional manipulation and would cost me thousands of dollars and something I've worked toward for years. My therapist says that I need to make the decision based on what I can live with long term, not based on immediate family pressure. She's pointed out that this is a pattern with Maya creating drama and expecting everyone else to accommodate her poor planning and impulsive decisions. But I can't help wondering if I'm being too rigid.
Maybe family should come first, even when it's inconvenient.
Maybe I should be more understanding of Maya's situation and more willing to sacrifice for her happiness. The trip is in 3 weeks.
And I need to make a final decision soon. If I'm going to cancel, I need to do it now to minimize the financial damage.
But I also know that if I cancel, I'll resent Maya and the family for forcing me to give up something so important to me. So.
Reddit, aita for refusing to cancel my long-planned dream vacation to attend my cousin's last-minute wedding.